Thank you so much for downloading this resource. I want to provide you an audio version as well so that you can put it on the background and you don't have to just rely on the PDF. So a little bit about me first. My name is Matt Curtis. I've been a graphic designer all the way up to a creative minister and everywhere in between. I started my journey in church ministry actually before Facebook was a thing. So that'll give you a sense of how long I've been doing this. I wanted to share with you 3 things that I've learned over the years that have dramatically reduced the amount of time that I need to spend while creating creative assets for the church. The reason I want to share them with you is because you're likely not a designer. That's what this resource really is for. It's for the non-designer who finds themselves doing design work. Now, maybe you're aspiring to be a designer. That's fantastic. Here's some tips. Maybe you're not aspiring to be a designer. Fantastic. Here's some ways you can save a ton of time. So let's get to it. The first one here is this: create an assets document. Anytime you use anything in your design, create a document where that lives. So for example, I have 3 different logos that I tend to use in my promotional pieces. Great. Put all of them in one file. I also, for bonus points here, I also have certain phrases that I use all the time. Fantastic. Put it in the document. And then finally, extra super bonus points here in terms of time saving, include formatting that you often do. One of the common problems that I ran into as a designer was a ministry leader coming to me and saying, here's 17 pages of content that I need you to fit into 4 pages. Okay, well, there's formatting tricks that I developed over the years when I began establishing a standard in terms of how we communicate event information. Well, I kept forgetting what that information was, what the hierarchy was. So I put it in a document. Now I open a document, I have all my logos, I have my commonly used phrases, I have the way that we invite people to events, the language that we use around serving, and I also have the logistical structure of how I present that information so that I don't have to go fishing for it every time I'm designing a new piece. You'll build that asset document over time, or maybe you have enough work already done where you can look over it and say, man, these are the 3 logos that I tend to use all the time. Or these are the phrases that we really like to use when it comes to, volunteering or recruitment or even, events that we have with our students. But consolidating it all in one document means you spend no time searching or hunting or wondering where you put that file because it's all in the same place. The time that this is going to save you is shockingly significant. Second, pick a monthly look. Now, monthly is a relative term here. Like, this is just a suggestion. Really what I'm trying to get at here is pick a look and stick with it for a long period of time. We have this belief for some reason that we have to reinvent ourselves every time we talk to somebody in our ministry. What that does, though, is it actually wastes a significant portion of our time. I love going to the people who are doing this extremely well. Think about your last experience at, Starbucks or McDonald's or wherever it is that you go. Maybe drinking a Coke, or a Diet Coke. They also have an iconic aesthetic. Think about what your experience was. If you were at Starbucks, you saw that color green, right? And maybe craft paper. Like, those are the 2 pretty distinctive traits of a Starbucks. McDonald's, you saw those golden arches. The logo's the same everywhere, right? When you order your food, that golden arches is on everything. Yes, they do packaging rebrands, but overall, the vibe, the feel, the aesthetic of the organization is the same. And what's interesting too with some of these organizations, these franchises, it's the same everywhere. And then the last one is Coke or Diet Coke. When you pick up a can of soda, you know what this soda is. You look in a chest and you see something covered with ice and you see a little bit of that iconic red, you know what it is. What they're doing is they're eliminating a lot of design time, that's for sure. But the constant and reliable interfacing that we have with those companies is actually a part of us knowing what we're getting. We know what we're interacting with at that point. So in terms of time saving, it actually helps you significantly because now you don't need to spend the time designing something new every time. One of the things I suggest, and this is in the PDF if you want to look at it specifically, I actually recommend creating these looks based on the types of content that you put out there. So let's say, for example, you have event announcements, Bible verses that you like to post on socials, and maybe volunteer highlights in your ministry. So create the 3 different looks. That's great. But then use those looks for an extended period of time. Maybe even go 6 months. If you want to, you can even push it to a year. I do think refreshes visually are helpful and valuable, but don't do it every time you're creating a piece. What this does is this eliminates a lot of the design time, and it allows you to simply open a file, make your edits and your changes, put in the new volunteer photo, write the new description real quick, and you're done. This saves a lot of time because you're not reinventing the wheel every time you need to say something. The last one here is social media oriented. It's create your social media in chunks. This has been the single most impactful change in me getting more of my time. I feel very overwhelmed by the number of social networks that I'm trying to post to and the amount of content that I'm trying to churn out. And so what I thought was the right answer was dedicate a couple hours a day. And so every day I would try to get my mind back in gear to think about social media. Well, sometimes I was tired. Sometimes I had just had a really busy day and my brain it's bouncing around on all these different projects. Sometimes I'm in an analytical mood and I'm not really feeling very creative. So I didn't really know how to solve this other than just keep throwing more time at it. And so eventually I tried something different. I said, what if I just dedicate my day? I'm willing to give a whole day. What if I dedicate my whole day to social media? I was shocked. In about 2 hours, I sat down, started writing ideas, filmed the content. This was specifically content for TikTok. Filmed the content, edited the content, exported the content, scheduled the posting of the content in under 2 hours for the whole week. Multiple posts. I think I was doing 2 a day at the time. It was an incredible amount of time that I just got back because I was probably putting in 12, 14 hours a week just on trying to get this social thing to go. So rather than stretching it out throughout your week, dedicate a block of time. I would recommend only an hour or two. And anytime you think about socials, tell yourself, nope, not now. I'm gonna do that at this set time. And what it does is it allows you to really dig deeply into what is it I want to communicate about socials or about my ministry on socials. How do I want to do that? Okay, let's execute. It's all fresh. The ideas are new. You're not trying to remember what you thought about last Thursday. You're good to go. This one alone saved me a ton of time. Collectively, all of these things over the years have allowed me to shift into being an extremely high volume producer of work simply because I'm not squandering time. That lets me then take a little bit of a slower pace sometimes and do deeper, better work. Or in the case of somebody who's not trying to be a designer, this lets you get back to the ministry that God has called you to accomplish.